Okay, let's talk about throwing stars and throwing knives, specifically Spira Prime and Hikou Prime, because these weapons are things that I'm trying to use now with the Platinum Arrow as opposed to using Synoid Gammacor. So obviously the big thing about Spira Prime is that it is a very powerful crit-based weapon, which makes it really good at killing high-level enemies, especially if you happen to land some headshots, but if your enemy happens to be covering their head, then you're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage. Obviously, it's not as fast as, say, my Paris Prime with a ribbon, but it's still pretty decent. Whereas the Hikou Prime, of course, with its lower crit chance, lower critical damage, and just straight up overall lower damage, will struggle against a high-level enemy like a Corrupted Heavy Gunner at level 100, but will actually be okay at mass clearing trash mobs, especially if you decide to use concealed explosives. So when it came to building Spira Prime, the throwing knives, I tried to make the most out of the weapon using a 3-former build. So this is the build, and not only do we have 3-former in it, we also have an Exilus mod, which is the first build that I have ever done using an Exilus mod for the weapon. I don't even have an Exilus mod on my Paris Prime. That's how difficult it is to find an opportunity to actually use this new addition to the game that was brought about in Old Blood, I think. So this build should be pretty self-explanatory. 1, 2, 3, 4 pretty self-explanatory mods for a crit-based weapon. We're using Magnum Force because I've actually recently upgraded my Magnum Force all the way to maximum, so we might as well use it. It is essentially like a heavy caliber, so for weapon types that you would normally use heavy caliber on, you probably want to use something like Magnum Force. Otherwise, we are going for viral damage. Despite the fact that we have about 55% status chance, it's actually pretty alright, and we can actually do some decent damage. A couple more former and I would probably turn these two mods into their 90% variants, or I might even go for radiation damage with Prime Heated Charge, but it would actually be pretty difficult to fit that in, so we'll have to see how that goes. And in terms of the Exilus mod, the Spira Prime comes with a V polarity to start off with, so that kind of gives us not much in the way of choice for Exilus mods. We have Targeting Subsystem and Spry Sights. Those are the other two that are available, at least the only two that I have. Most of the other ones are actually dash polarities, so I'm open to suggestions as to which Exilus mod you would choose, but I think Lethal Momentum is probably the best one for Spira Prime. Meanwhile, on the Hikou Prime, the idea is to use that fast fire rate to make as much use of concealed explosives as possible. So not only do we have concealed explosives, we're using anemic agility and lethal torrent for as much fire rate as possible, along with extra multi-shot from lethal torrent and barrel diffusion, so these should be pretty self-explanatory. Again, I am using Magnum Force because I really don't know what else I could use on the weapon like this. We can't use any of the Prime critical mods because this weapon is simply not a critical weapon. As you can see, the base crit chance is 6% and the crit multiplier is 1.8 times. You really don't want to be using those Prime crit mods because it's going to be an absolute waste of time. And otherwise, we're using viral damage, although I'm open to suggestions as to what kind of combined elemental you would go for a Hikou Prime like this. And the Hikou Prime does come with a dash polarity on the Weapon Exilus mod, but I don't think that's worth it. Prime Pistol Ammo Mutation might be useful, Steady Hands might be slightly useful, Trick Mag could actually be useful, but all the others are probably going to be trash. Reflex Draw might be useful as well, I'm not 100% sure. So I guess if you are shopping around for a throwing knife, this is probably the best analogy to make. If you want to fight semi-high level, if not higher level enemies, like level 100 Corrupted Lancers, then you'll probably want to use something like Spira Prime. It's capable of killing these guys a lot faster than Hikou Prime. Provided you don't die, of course. Whereas for the Hikou Prime, you'll probably want to be using this against trash mobs or actually nullifiers, because if you happen to be in a mission with a ton of nullifiers, it looks like concealed explosives, plus the really high fire rate, is extremely effective against these nullifiers. Just don't kill yourself with concealed explosives. Finally, of course, pretty much both of these weapons are going to be good when you have a really powerful mag. For example, my mag, the 5000 IQ build, if we strip all of their armor, first off, they're going to be doing a lot more damage, and secondly, when you use Macintyre, you end up doing a lot more damage. About 5,000 to 20-odd thousand damage per shot, per throwing knife for the Spira Prime. And then of course you can explode the bubble and kill them even faster. Whereas for the Hikou Prime we get the opportunity of doing all of the damage. Not just from concealed explosives, but also from Hikou Prime itself. So that is Hikou Prime and Spira Prime in action. Let me know what you think about these in the comments below. I think as a final thought, if DU could actually buff concealed explosives so that it scales off damage mods, I think that'd be really, really good. If they can also make it so that the self-damage section of concealed explosives doesn't scale off damage mods, that would be fantastic. That would actually make it kind of perfect. Otherwise, if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more WarFrame content, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye!